Okay, this will be a very, very random rambling this time because I have not even made any proper kind of topics or anything like that. I just wanted to talk a little bit something that happened during the week. It's Saturday, and I actually noticed one thing that I'm actually a little bit surprised by. I get less views on these random ramblings for the English version than for the German version. I don't know really why, because usually it was the other way around. But it seems that actually my engagement to my German viewers seems to be higher than for the English viewers. I don't know why, because I still have more English viewers. So that's something that I have to find out a little bit because it's weird. Okay, what do I want to talk about today? Let me quickly think about it. I really don't know. Okay, one thing that I want to go into it, okay, that won't be really interesting for most of you mobile fans and so on, but Threadripper. I think I want to talk about that just because I would really like to build a system with that, but 1950X it definitely won't be, and even the 1920, even though I will maybe go for that, just seems too high. The 1900X or the 1900 is not quite for me because with 550 I don't think the pricing is properly. Then I could just go for a Ryzen 7. And what I'm really waiting for, I hope the leaks will be true and it will be noticeably cheaper than the 1920X will be the 1920. So maybe overclockable just as good with no XFR and so on. This could be the sweet spot. So I hope to get a price at maybe 650. That's where I would say this is good enough for me for an overkill PC. If it gets quite close to the $800 performance of the 1920X, then this could be the system. Of course, I know price performance ratio, the value won't be great because I could get quite close with maybe a Ryzen 7 1700 if I overclock that with a proper water cooling, because I save so much money on a main board, maybe even on the RAM or some other things in general. But like I said, I want something that is a noticeable, a significant jump over my 6700K, which is 700. I don't think would be quite that. It would be better in terms of multitasking and so on, also in terms of video rendering, because for what I mostly want to use this PC is after all still video rendering. So for me, the pretty much fastest machine for Adobe Premiere is the most important part. That's the thing. So of course I want to play games as well, but I don't think that these few frames will be the difference, because I think my 1700 at that point is the most limiting factor. There an 1800, or did I say 1070? I mean a 1080 would bring more, a 1080 Ti would bring more performance, but that's just too expensive for me. And I won't really upgrade the card as well. If I upgrade my PC to a Ryzen or a Threadripper, then I will just take my 1070 and put my 970 in the first system again. Because what I actually plan on doing, because this would save me quite some time after all, I will then have just two PCs, one somewhere else in the room or maybe in a different room, and render just on both of them. Edit on one, render on two. This will save, yeah, 50% or at least close to that in normal life. But let me actually know, because I know I don't have many PC viewers here, but what do you think? What do you think of Ryzen so far? What do you think of Threadripper? Are you planning on buying a system with that? Because I really like what AMD is doing. Intel, I don't know, because I've actually checked the sites and so on, and I saw a really good video from, I think it was Hardware Unboxed, and he made a big comparison with the Threadrippers and the Ryzens and the Intels, and there was the 708020 from Intel that costs about 650 officially, but it's already down to 550 here, that got quite close to the 1920, both overclocked, and it wasn't a big difference. And that one maybe could be, in terms of value, maybe even better. But then I see different benchmarks and I'm not quite so sure, because on some benchmarks the 7020 doesn't seem to be that much better than 1700X or 1800X Ryzen, but in some it's very close to the Threadripper that is better. And I don't really care about gaming, it's all about Adobe Premiere and all that. In terms of the rest doesn't really bother me. Now the next thing, do I have it actually? Yes, I have it. Maybe if you have seen it already, the Maze Alpha. Yes, this is a brick of a phone, because 225 grams, and a lot of people have talked about that. They said it's just too big, but I have to say, yes, it's not real bezel-less. But I have to say, what I did not expect from a $180 or €180 device, $200, is to feel that heavy, but in a good way, because it feels so premium, it feels so hefty, and I really like this on phones. And that's why I'm not someone who has issues with a heavier phone, because actually I have to say by now, the Mi 6 feels like a heavy phone compared to anything else in that size, but it feels so good, and maybe that's why I like this so much. The display is but also brilliant. The performance is super nice. Battery life so far actually seems too good to be true, because I'm seem, at least on Wi-Fi, to be running around to 10 hours of screen on time, which just can't be in some way. I've already gotten even a new update again. So this phone in some way seems too good to be true. But we will see. I will give it the time to see if that, but so far I definitely can already easily recommend it. And it's still something nice. And a lot of people actually have approached me because of these kind of bezel-less phones, because some say it's a trickery, because they're trying to try to fool you, because the bezels actually aren't smaller than on many other phones, just the one at the top. But I have to say, this is true. This is true. The overall actual experience isn't bezel-less. But the great thing about this is, and this is what I have to give it to that, what I like on this small bezel on the top, and with this a lot of people say too big bezel at the bottom, is that the phone at no point, even though it's big, gets top heavy. Because the problem on all those phones that have still big bezels on the top and not so much on the bottom, they feel very top heavy. This is bottom heavy and therefore very secure to hold, because I've used this actually easier than some 5.5 inches, not in terms of width but overall. And that's why I wanna see and I wanna review more of these phones. There are a lot out there. I've already requested the Blueboo S1, 5.5 inches, so should be noticeably smaller in general, but also especially in terms of width, so it should be more narrow. Also 1080p display, also Helio P20, which in sports mode runs really, really well. So I would actually like to see more of these phones than what we get with this 18:9 ratio, because this for me seems actually more impressive, because this small bezel on the front, on the top, kind of, if I look at the content, it looks like there's nothing behind, but on all this otherwise with those very tall displays, I actually am not a fan. So let me actually know in the comments what you think. Do you prefer 18:9 or something like that aspect ratio with small bezels all around, but with way taller phones? Because I actually found them to be just a little bit awkward to use, being so top heavy, and I always was very cautious not to flip it over if I type or something like that, and that's just not these cases. So I'm actually fine with the bigger bezel on the bottom, because it also makes it way easier to reach those buttons at the bottom. So this is it. Actually, the next thing are, let's talk about Chinese phones and people reviewing them. I have to actually say, there are a lot of weird ones out there, and I think I don't really get why so many of them are big, because there is one certain one, I don't want to call out his name, but he's had 500K plus, and every phone he reviews, which are usually budget cheap phones, gets a high rating and says this is like the next best thing, this is like a flagship that costs 200 and all that. And I gotta say, his review style looks very nice, very polished, he has a great voice and all that, but honestly, if I see the devices that I've already reviewed on his site, I gotta say he's talking bullshit. Because yes, I know I'm too picky, I'm a little bit too hard on some devices, especially on the cheaper ones, but I simply cannot really recommend a few phones that I've seen him recommending and actually praising a lot, because I think you have to keep one thing in mind, and that's maybe something that I should talk a little bit more about. And since it's the rambling, I can take the time. Since I work with GearBest, have an affiliate account. So this means that everything you buy through my links will give me a commission, which is actually not that big by now. But the big important factor for me, which is for me important, is that, for example, the ratio is like this. If I sell something for 1,000 euros, or let's say different. For every $3 I get in terms of something buying it, I get $1. So if I get something for about $1,000 that I've gotten in terms of money through people buying it, so let's say free Mi Maxes, 900 euros. I get something that I can spend on now from GearBest. I don't really spend it, but now I have like $300 of a budget that I can use for something else. And I still have actually a lot of budget left. And that's the way I get these devices actually, because it really depends on how much I get from you. People buy. Because that's the thing. It doesn't cost you anything extra. That's the good thing. And I don't and I won't ever recommend something just so you will buy it. Because what I actually did then, for example, if I reviewed something like the Verni Apollo X, or the Verni Apollo, I'm not quite even sure which one it was, I said that this is not a good one because I didn't want to praise it to get the revenue or the affiliate money of that, and I said rather buy the Xiaomi Note 4X or Xiaomi Note 4, or in some other case maybe the One Plus or the Xiaomi Mi 6, and I only will recommend the devices that I can recommend, that I know that are good, and that I will have a good conscience if you buy it. for some reason I've noticed that like 95% of all the buyers or the people that use my links to buy something from there actually seem to be from Germany, something that I don't quite get. I know that my US users won't do it so much because they usually don't import phones so much. Other countries, actually almost probably China, but the thing is, if you praise pretty much everything, you get way more commission. For example, I have like about $500 now that I made through those affiliate links in the last 4 months. So it's not a whole lot. People make a lot more money through Amazon affiliates, which is actually a bit weird. I don't make much of both because maybe I just don't promote it that well. I don't really use it. But the thing is just the more I put links in, and the more you buy from them, if you want to buy it anyways, because like I said, I don't want you to buy anything if it's not good, and that's why I won't recommend. I will put the link in there, but watch the review and you will see if you should get it or if you should get something else. But if you sell, and you can, if you push those devices out, especially if you are a 500,000 sub channel, and you push out those super positive reviews, people will buy these devices through your affiliate links, and then your revenue won't be $500 in 4 months. It will be like a few thousand maybe dollars a month. And I think that these people actually make way more money through all those GearBest affiliate links than they do with their channel itself. Because if I check what I do on my channel, yes, it's still more, but I make like, let's say 50-60 videos a month, and what I get in terms of money is a little. But now through Amazon links, affiliate links, and GearBest, this is still not even half of what I make from YouTube, and this what I make from YouTube is not a whole lot. So just keep that in mind. If at least on those Chinese products, if they are from GearBest, if they are from Banggood and Ali or somewhere else, be cautious, especially on too positive reviews. So maybe if you have a very, let's say, a channel that you trust, that you know has already not recommended or actually said to you, don't buy this and this device, then you should be safe. But I would really like to go way harder against these channels, because especially I've seen a German channel, he pretty much reviews only these Chinese phones, imported ones, and all of them seem to get a very high rating. And why can he review that many? Because, like, for example, he maybe gets the deal that for every $3 he makes $1 and he then can get something. And I've said it already. I think this is a temporary thing for me, because I don't think I will. I don't know. I was quite lucky, people buying so many OnePluses, which made a lot of money, and a lot of Xiaomi Redmi Note 4s. But I'm really happy that I didn't really sell any of those devices that are reviewed that it didn't. That weren't any good. Like, for example, I didn't really sell any Vernier Apollo. I didn't sell any, what other phone I reviewed, but I did sell, like, for example, one Mi Pad, but it was pretty much just Xiaomi Redmi Note 4s, OnePluses, and also I think a Mi Max and a Mi 6. So these are all devices that I, at least with a good conscience, can recommend you, and I'm happy that you bought these, because this means you listened to me, you used the links, and you bought good devices. That makes me feel good, because at least you haven't made me money or helped my channel, but you have maybe lost out on that. So that's actually something really important, that if at some point this stops, so if I won't get anything from GearBest, and I've said this, I talked to someone about that, I'm happy with that, because I'm taking full advantage of it. As long as I can get free review units there, I will sell them after a while. Some of them I will actually keep, because I actually think I will keep this, because I really like it so much. It's big and huge, but I like it. And once that stops, it stops, and then I won't get maybe anything. But why not? Because it helps my channel actually maybe more in some ways than the affiliate links, than the money that I make from YouTube. Because, for example, if I sell my OnePlus, I get quite a nice bang for my buck for what I made. So in this way, you actually help me more than you would maybe think. 40 minutes now. What else should I talk about? Because this was just something that I wanted to talk about for a quite long time already. Because I just don't know, for me, integrity is the big part. For me, sharing my opinion is the big part. And I just want to always stay very close to it. That's why I make these ramblings. This is the place where I can talk about some things back behind the scenes. And I think I just have to also kind of uncover what I see in kind of injustice. Because I don't know why these channels make this, because I personally I'm not gonna say that I'm the most trustworthy person or something like that, because the good thing is, and that's why I never want to make this a full living, because as long as I do this as my hobby, maybe more than I actually should put into it, I never rely on anything. If I make, for example, next month just maybe a quarter or half of what I make today, or I mean this month, it's fine, because every penny that I get from YouTube, from affiliate links and all that, is just a nice bonus that I will put into the channel again, because I actually noticed that I never really buy anything from that money for me, because I put away the money that I make from work aside to maybe pay off my mortgage and so on. But everything at some point, even if I save it for a long time, goes into the channel. Maybe next time, for example, the PC, which will take up a huge amount of that. Maybe some lighting if I change it. And in the past, it was the PC in the first place. It was the new microphone, a new camera and all that. So it always comes to your benefit. And I do this only to give you my honest opinion, to help you deciding on if you should buy something or not. And the others just do it for their own benefit. If they make a living with that, and the big ones definitely do, they kind of rely on that. So they kind of have to be more positive just to sell more, just to get more access to that. And I don't need that, and maybe that's why I have a way easier time, to be honest. Even though a lot of people actually see this a little bit different, because a few people just see everything like they want to, because they see me being too critical just as biased or a hater or something like that. If I then get something positive, I'm a fanboy or I'm paid or something like that. Even though I have to say I'm super happy that I pretty much never get any of those "you're biased, yes, but not you're paid," because I don't think I seem like a channel, which is actually weird, because if someone tells me that I'm paid, I always say, look at my channel, look at my quality, look at my style. Who in their right mind would actually pay for something like that? Because if you want to pay for something with your good money, you want an ad. You want a YouTuber that makes scripted videos that look like professional work, that look like an ad, that will actually make them money. What I do here, no one bothers. Okay, what else? What I just got today are 4 B&O Beoplay headphones. I got the B4, the 6, the 7, and the 9. One is wired, the rest are wireless. I gotta say, first impressions are, I definitely like what B&O is doing with their sound signature. It's a little bit more bassy, but it also has some nice highs, so very clear sound. The mids are a little bit recessed, but that is a nice V shape, and I definitely like it so far, because it's nowhere near what I've seen on Sony phones, or Sony headphones, where I got a lot of hate, because the Sony 1000Xs and the 950 N1s, I got so much talk about that I have no clue what I'm talking. Of course, audio is always something very subjective, but after reviewing so many headphones by now, and also speakers from my past, I kind of think that I know something about good sound. And this lack of clarity, this muffled sound that Sony's produced on these 2 speakers and on some other ones as well, is just not what I think is a brilliant sound, which is a great sound. And everyone in my comments said that the clarity of the 1000X is great, but I don't hear any clarity. And I do on these Beoplays. Of course, they are actually quite expensive for what they are. Maybe not the most comfortable ones. Of course, I just use them for like half an hour every one, so each one. And I need more time, but I have to say, I like the first appearance from them. The sound signature, and this is the most important part, because so many told me you have to use them wired, which of course I did. I mean, the Sonys. And you also have to use aptX, or you have to use their own LDAC, I think it is, standard, because of the better quality. But I actually think that this is kind of similar to displays, that the calibration is actually more important than the quality. And in the case of a display, it's the calibration that sometimes is more important than the resolution. And you can kind of translate this over for sound as well. So even though aptX, or maybe LDAC, or whatever it's called for Sony, has more resolution, it's the sound signature or the calibration of the headphone that is way much more important. Because what do I have of the least lack of clarity loss, or I mean quality loss, through aptX or LDAC, if the sound signature of the headphones themselves is just not good? And the easiest way to just check the sound signature is just to use it wired, because then it's the cleanest anyways, because it's not wireless, so no quality gets lost. And then it's just the speaker and the headphone. And in the case of the Sonys, it didn't really matter if I used a better codec or if I used it well. It was just a sound signature that I didn't like. And I think a lot of people just underestimate calibration, or in this case sound signature on headphones, and that's something that I personally have a problem with, because what I also got a few times is someone saying I reviewed, for example, a gaming headset and I didn't give it a great rating, and then they said you should have used an equalizer, you should have used Razer Synapse to adjust the sound. But I have to tell, the moment I use an equalizer, I'm not really reviewing the headphone anymore. I'm reviewing what I've set it up to be. Because of course I can reduce the bass, I can reduce the highs and so on. But then there are people who use their headphones or headsets on a console and they don't have the options. And I have to just review a headphone, and I will do this always, just as I get it. No equalizing, no extra thing. Of course, amping if it's needed, but not any sort of equalizing, because I don't want to review what I'm tweaking it to, because then I'm just not reviewing what I get, and I have to review it. This is the same thing, for example, if I review a phone. If I would install a custom ROM, heavily tweak it and all that, I wouldn't review what any normal average user would get. And it's the same thing with headphones. Most people don't use equalizers. Most people don't tweak their headphones. They use it as they are. And that's the way I'm gonna keep reviewing them. Okay, what else should I talk about? I actually made a few top notes, but I didn't really want to talk too much about those, because one, for example, was people told me that I should get a thicker skin in terms of fanboys if I get negative comments. But what I want to also make clear, it never was about a thick skin or something like that, because the fanboys don't really hurt me anymore, but they are annoying, especially on the Nokia side. I got so many hate comments, and also recently LG and Sony. But it's just annoying to see all those comments and having to delete them. And it's not that it bothers me anymore, but it's just annoying to get so many. The next thing, okay, what I was compared a few times already was to be something like the Tech Sloth. This is a German tech YouTuber, also maybe a blogger or a reviewer. And he doesn't have so many subscribers on his English channel, because he also makes two channels, so English and German. So it's Technik Faultier on German and Tech Sloth in English. I think he has like 13,000 on the English one, but about 100. So he's definitely bigger than me in our overall spectrum. And people say that he has the same kind of casual vibe, very honest vibe and so on. But I actually, maybe if you know that channel, don't quite get why. Because I still have this way more raw appearance. I don't really talk that well, not that like a pro, like some very rambly and so on, and really rough. And he talks so clean. And I think that's the real big distinction, because I feel to be way more subjective, way more personal, way more just more of a, sounds weird, a human being. And he sounds more like a pro, more like a casual pro, but still a pro, and it shows. And that's why I don't think quite I've seen the resemblance from my side. Okay, yeah, that's actually one point that I noted that I make. It is just a note for me. Back to new roots. Weird, because if you go back to your roots, new roots is something weird, but I will get to that. I reach the limit and have fun. So what I mean by this is the following. I want to get back to new roots. With new roots, I mean the following. Back in the days, I was more casual, a little bit more unprofessional, but I kind of want to get back to that, but in a more enjoyable way for me. And maybe that translates well over the screen, I don't know. But I think at 50,000 subscribers, which I reached last week, I reached the limit. Or let's say the last big milestone. I don't think I will see 100,000. I don't think I will see anything bigger, because my growth, or the growth of that growth, or the slope, just got a little bit down again. So I think I've in some way peaked. So I'm still growing, that's not the issue, but the growth has declined, so it's not that big anymore, because last month I had like 4,500 subscribers a month, and this month it will maybe go down to 3,000 or even more over time, and I will get to my old kind of way, like maybe 60, 70. At the moment I'm still at 120 from 150 or 180 that I was a little bit before, but I think this will just have to decline, because the problem is my channel doesn't really improve anymore. It's on the same level for, let's say, on the same base standard level for like at least the last year. And I don't expect it to get any bigger pushes in terms of quality, not video or photo, or audio, which wouldn't make a difference anyways, but also not in terms of kind of approach, because someone said you have to evolve. You can't just do the same thing over and over again and expect you to explode in terms of viewers. And I know this, but I'm totally fine with that. And that's why I said I reached my limit, and I think where I am, and the level where I am at 50,000 subscribers, I feel I am big enough to now kind of let loose a little bit, get down with the tension, get a little bit of the pressure off me, and just enjoy videos a little bit more. I don't know if that's seeable or visible in videos already, but I think that sometimes I just say, let's screw it, let's go through it, and I talk a little bit more. I also ditched sometimes, quite often by now actually, the pros and cons, because it feels just way more natural to be a little bit less prepared, because the more prepared I am, the more scripted or kind of rehearsed it looks to me. And this comes with the downside, it also looks a little bit less prepared, but also a little bit more rough, a little bit amateurish. But I exactly wanted that feel, because so many people always say I look very authentic, very realistic, very honest. And the more and more I get back to this professional, standardized way that I did for a while, I think I will lose that, and that's exactly what I don't want to do. So I will definitely keep doing this. So I enjoy it way more now. I have an easier time, and you maybe have noticed this. The more and more videos I make, the better my mood is, and this shows. Because if I think, oh, I have to once again make all the preparations, I have to set up everything, and I have to do all of this, then I don't want to make many videos, and then I do less of them. But the more my motivation gets up, because if I know I get just up here, I don't have to do all of that, I can just talk straight out of my head, and I can just show my emotions, I can show my unfiltered opinion on something, maybe that just something jumps into my head right in this moment. I feel that feels even more so authentic, and that's exactly what I want to approach, what I want to keep, and what I want to show even more so in the next few days. The one thing that I'm still struggling is the intro. So if I would have a switch that would just make me get through the intro, I would save so much time, and it would just show that the problem is because I tried to make this intro so many times, and then at least the first minute it feels so rehearsed, because that's why I don't like the first minute. I actually like the first 20 seconds of the review the most in terms of cleanness or let's say smoothness, because everything sounds very nice. But the first moment I switch the camera to the normal part, like let's say after the display part, or at least at the display part, things get always to the same old habit. I talk about the same old things in the same way. And that's where I feel the most comfortable. So if I could jump just right into that, I think I would enjoy things the most. And of course I've already thought about just jumping straight into the display part and also the design part, and make the intro maybe afterwards, but it just doesn't work, because I'm not a good more takes person, so I can't just split up a video in many parts like some people have already recommended. So I can't make an intro, a design part, a display part. I actually did that in the past, and back then it took me so much longer to make videos. So a one take attempt is the only thing that I can get it through, and it should be the first attempt actually, because that is my thing. Because today I made 4 videos, so 2 reviews, actually without proper any jump and hurl. So it maybe wasn't super clean as it usually is, a little bit rougher, but I think this little bit of roughness that saves me a lot of time isn't even noticeable. And actually maybe some people appreciate that, because people say that this roughness or this imperfection of my reviews actually has its own charm, because you don't see this often usually. And yeah, video is 28 minutes long. I have actually, due to my super brain, no idea what I've even talked about, but I don't think that's too bad. So I don't want to stretch this too far, so I don't want to come up with more contents or topics to talk about. I've talked about the most important parts. If anything comes up, then next week. Yeah.